February 19, 1943. 02:10 hours. North Atlantic, 900 miles west of Ireland. The air inside U-604 is a physical weight. It is thick with the stench of diesel oil, stale sweat, kitchen waste, and the metallic tang of the bilge. For 48 men, this 200-foot steel tube is the only world they know. On the conning tower bridge, Kapitän Lieutenant Horst Höltring draws his first breath of clean air in 12 hours. It is a brutal freezing gale that tears at his oilskins, but it is pure. He grips the periscope housing, his night vision binoculars sweeping the black heaving horizon. Nothing. Only the endless, rolling mountains of the Atlantic swell. Luftanblasen. Ventilate the boat. The command is sharp. Below, the diesel engines cough, sputter, and then roar to life with a guttural thrum. The boat shudders as it begins the vital, vulnerable process of recharging its batteries. Men, ghostly in the dim light, emerge onto the wet deck, clinging to lifelines. They smoke cigarettes cupped in their palms. The brief orange glow extinguished by the spray. This is the Mittelatlantische Luftlücke, the Mid-Atlantic Gap. The Black Pit. Kapitän Lieutenant Höltring feels no fear of the sky. Why should he? His charts are precise. The nearest Allied airbase in Newfoundland is over 1,000 miles to the west. RAF Coastal Command in Iceland is 800 miles to the north. The short Sunderland flying boats, the flying porcupines his men dread, are hopelessly out of range. Their endurance is spent long before they can reach this meridian. Here, the U-boat is the apex predator. Here, the wolf pack gathers. Höltring's funker, his radio operator, is already below, tapping out a status report to Befehlshaber der U-Boote, Admiral Dönitz's U-boat command. They are reporting their position, their fuel state, and the weather. They are coordinating the hunt for convoy SC-118, which they know is steaming blindly towards them. For the U-boot Waffe, this patch of ocean is a sanctuary. It is a place to breathe, to recharge, to repair, and to signal their masters in broad daylight, or in this case, under the faint light of a winter moon. The only danger comes from the sea itself, a stray destroyer, a fast corvette that has lost its convoy. But the sky is empty. It belongs to God and the gulls. March 4, 1943, 05:30 hours. RAF Station Aldergrove, Northern Ireland. The rain is a cold horizontal sheet, driven by the same North Atlantic gale that Kapitän Lieutenant Höltring had breathed just weeks earlier. It hammers against the corrugated iron of the Nissen huts and turns the airfield into a sea of mud. Inside the operations room, the air is thick with cigarette smoke. The smell of damp wool uniforms and lukewarm tea. Flight Lieutenant David Rochford, a 24-year-old pilot seconded from Bomber Command, traces a line on a vast wall map. The line extends from his base, past the recognizable coast of Ireland and deep into a blank, empty square of the Atlantic labeled The Gap. His finger stops, tapping a grease pencil coordinate. 900 miles out. There, says the briefing officer, his voice dull with exhaustion. Convoy HX-228, 48 merchants. They lost 2 stragglers to U-591 last night. Your patrol sector is grid square 47 and 25W. You are the only long-range cover they have. The only. Rochford nods, his expression grim. He hates this. He'd signed up to drop bombs on Berlin, not to drown in the freezing Atlantic. But the losses are staggering. Churchill himself has called it the dominating factor in the war. Britain is not just fighting. It is starving. He pulls on his heavy fleece-lined boots and walks out toward the hard stand. And there it sits. It is not a sleek maritime patrol aircraft like the Sunderland. It is a B-24D Liberator, a brute. It's an American heavy bomber painted in the strange, muted camouflage of Coastal Command, dark slate gray and extra dark sea gray on top, with a stark white underbelly and flanks. This is Aircraft B for Baker of No. 120 Squadron. And it is a freak. It has been stripped of its purpose. The ball turret is gone. The waist guns are gone. Most of the armor plate protecting the crew is gone. In their place are gigantic rubber fuel tanks crammed into the bomb bay and fuselage, turning the aircraft into a 30-ton flying fuel drum. This is the VLR, Very Long Range, Liberator. A desperate, ungainly solution born of sheer necessity. It is the only thing in the Allied arsenal that can fly for 16, sometimes 18 hours. The only thing that can patrol the center of the gap and, with luck, make it home. Rochford and his crew of 9 climb aboard in the pre-dawn gloom. The co-pilot, a young Canadian, runs through the checklist. The navigator settles in, his charts and dividers ready. And in the belly of the beast, two men, the radar operator and the wireless operator, begin warming up their equipment. This is the other secret. Tucked under the chin of the aircraft is a new, bulbous radome. It houses the ASV Mk III, a 10-centimeter wavelength radar. The Germans have no idea it exists. Their U-boats are equipped with the Mk detector, a simple wooden cross of an antenna wired to a receiver. It sniffs the skies for the Allies' older, longer wavelength radar. When it pings, the U-boat has ample warning, 10, sometimes 20 minutes, to crash dive to safety. The Mk has made Allied aircraft a mere nuisance, but this new radar is invisible. It operates on a frequency the Mk cannot hear. To the U-boat, it is a whisper, a ghost. Rochford's engines, 4 Pratt & Whitney R-1830s, cough to life, spitting blue flame in the darkness. The bomber, overloaded with fuel, lumbers down the runway, struggling to get airborne. It lifts barely, clearing the trees at the end of the airfield. It climbs slowly, agonizingly into the storm. Its mission? To fly for 7 hours into the heart of the Black Pit, patrol for 4, and pray it has enough fuel for the 7-hour flight home. They are hunting a target they cannot see, in a place no one has ever hunted from the air before. They are the first invisible blade aimed at the heart of the U-boat fleet. And 900 miles away, in the cold light of dawn, Captain Lieutenant Hultring's watch officer on U-604 scans an empty sky. Supremely, fatally confident, Hultring scans the horizon one last time. He is the master of this domain. He and his fellow commanders, the aces of the deep, reign supreme in the Black Pit. They are sinking ships faster than the Allies can build them. They are winning the Battle of the Atlantic, and they believe this hunting ground is and always will be theirs alone. March 4th, 1943, 13:10 hours. Grid square 47 and 25W, Mid-Atlantic. The sea is calmed. The sky is a high, cold ceiling of gray clouds. Captain Lieutenant Heinz Günther Jurst, commander of U-591, stands on his bridge, enjoying the flat, metallic taste of a canned peach. His boat is surfaced, running on diesels. They are recharging, just like U-604 had hours before. They had a good night. A lone lagging freighter from HX-228 dispatched with a single torpedo. Now they are shadowing the main convoy, waiting for dusk to coordinate the next Wolfpack assault. The lookouts, wrapped in scarves and heavy coats, scan the horizon. Their eyes are raw from the wind. Horchgerät meldet nichts. Listening gear reports nothing. Mittags ist ruhig. Mittags is quiet. Of course it is. It is always quiet out here. Jurst lowers his binoculars. He is about to give the order to post the afternoon watch, when the port lookout freezes. He doesn't shout. He just stares. Herr Kalot. His voice is tight with confusion. Flugzeug. 90 Grad Backbord. Ich glaube, aircraft. 90 degrees port. I think. Jurst snaps his binoculars up. He scans the bearing, his blood turning cold. It is a lie, a mirage, a trick of the light, but it is not. A tiny black cross hangs in the gray just above the cloud base. It is moving fast, and it is getting larger. Das ist nicht möglich, Jurst mutters. Nicht hier. That is not possible. Not here. It is not a fat, lumbering Sunderland. The wings are high, thin. The tail is a distinctive twin fin. A Liberator. A land bomber, here, in the middle of the Atlantic. His mind races. Has a carrier launched it? No, it's too large. Did it fly from America? Impossible, the lookout screams. Kommt rein! He's coming in. There is no circling, no cautious assessment. The Black Cross has resolved into the terrifying 4-engine profile of Flight Lieutenant Rochford's B for Baker. It is already in a shallow dive, its white belly stark against the gray sky. On the Winter Garden, the U-boat's flak platform, the flak matrose scrambles to the 20mm C-30 cannon. He fumbles with the magazine, his hands numb. Alarm. Alarm! Flieger alarm! Tauchen! Alarm, alarm! Aircraft alarm, dive. The klaxon blares, a deafening, terrifying sound that cuts through the thrum of the diesels. Captain Lieutenant Jurst is the last one down the hatch, sealing it himself as the boat angles sharply down. Inside, the boat is a chaos of shouting men and the high-pitched whine of the diving planes. They are diving blind. They have no time for a controlled descent. They are dropping like a stone, 10 meters, 20 meters. They are still in the shadow of the surface when the first concussion hits. From Rochford's perspective, the U-boat is a perfect white wake on the gray sea. His radar operator had guided him the last 10 miles, the blip on his screen hardening from a fuzzy patch into a sharp, clear return. Target acquired, skipper. Right on the nose. Rochford hasn't even used his bomb sight. This is point and shoot. Bomb doors open, charges. Set shallow, now. The Liberator shudders as 6 Markabum and Torpex depth charges drop from its belly. They are not bombs. They are ash cans designed to detonate at a preset depth, in this case just 25 feet. The charges hit the water in a perfect stick, straddling the swirl of foam where U-591 had just vanished. Seconds later, the sea erupts. 6 colossal white and gray plumes of water shoot 150 feet into the air. The shockwaves smack the belly of the Liberator, tossing it violently. Inside U-591, the world ends. The pressure hull rings like a monstrous bell. Every light bulb on the boat explodes, plunging the men into total, terrifying darkness. Pipes burst. High-pressure steam and icy seawater spray into the control room. Men are screaming. The boat is driven downwards, out of control. Rochford circles his bomber tightly. His crew stares down at the patch of roiling, boiling water. For a minute, there is nothing. Then a dark, viscous bubble of black oil breaks the surface. It spreads, widening into a dark stain. Debris follows. Wooden planks from the deck. Fragments of cork, and then, terribly, the forms of men, thrown clear or escaping from the shattered wreck. In the Liberator's radio room, the operator begins tapping out a message to Aldergrove. U-boat, 47N25W, sunk. Repeat, sunk. But 30 miles away, another U-boat, U-228, has seen it all. Its commander, on his own bridge, has watched through his binoculars as a land bomber appeared from nowhere without warning and murdered a sister boat in broad daylight. His funker is already sending a frantic, encrypted message to Admiral Dönitz in Berlin. The message is pure, unadulterated shock. Attacked by 4-engine bomber in grid 47. No METOX warning. U-591 destroyed, impossible. In the Wolfpack's sanctuary, the locks have just been blown off the doors. March 5, 1943. 9 hours. Hotel am Steinplatz, Berlin. The makeshift headquarters of Befehlshaber der U-Boote, BDU, is a hive of quiet, professional intensity. RIAN's, female naval auxiliaries, move silently across the floor, updating the massive map of the North Atlantic that covers an entire wall. Red pins mark Allied convoys. White pins mark U-boat positions. Black pins, grim and final, mark U-boats lost. Admiral Karl Dönitz, Der Löwe, the lion, stands before the map, his gaze fixed on grid square 47N. His face, usually a mask of iron confidence, is etched with a deep, unsettling frown. In his hand is the decoded signal from U-228 attacked by 4-engine bomber. No METOX warning. U-591 destroyed, impossible. Dönitz and his operations chief, Conter-Admiral Eberhard Gott, have rechecked the charts. They've checked the known ranges of every Allied aircraft. A B-24 Liberator, a land bomber, has no business being there. It is 900 nautical miles from the nearest known base. To fly there, attack and return. It would need to fly for nearly 20 hours. It must be a carrier, Gott insists, his voice tight. A fleet carrier. The Americans are risking one. With a heavy bomber? Dönitz counters, his voice sharp. It cannot land. It would be a one-way mission. They would not sacrifice a full crew and a new bomber for one U-boat. It's inefficient, he taps the signal form. This is the part that concerns me. No METOX warning. The room falls silent. The METOX receiver is their shield. It is the U-boat's ears. It gives them the time they need to slip beneath the waves, to vanish. If the Allies have a new radar, a funk mesquerette that METOX cannot detect, then every U-boat on the surface is blind. Every U-boat recharging its batteries is a sitting duck. Dönitz looks at the map. He sees the black pit, the heart of their success, the gap where his wolfpacks have feasted. In February alone, they sank 63 ships. In the first few days of March, another 12. They are on the verge of breaking Britain's spine, and now this, a single terrifying report. It is a freak, Gott says, trying to convince himself. A long-range reconnaissance flight, perhaps from Newfoundland, at the absolute limit of its endurance. A lucky shot. Dönitz says nothing. He places a new black pin on the map, over the coordinates for U-591. He senses, with the instinct of a veteran submariner, that this is not a freak event. This is the first drop of rain before a hurricane. He issues a new cautious order. All U-boats in mid-Atlantic grid squares are to increase vigilance. Post double lookouts. METOX operators are to report any unusual atmospheric interference. He knows it is not enough. If the sky is no longer safe, where is? While Dönitz stares at his map in Berlin, a new ungainly ship is clearing the harbor at Argentia, Newfoundland. She is the USS Bogue. She is not a fleet carrier. She is not a sleek warship. She is a converted C-3 merchant hull, slow, clumsy, and with a flight deck barely 500 feet long. Her crew calls her a jeep carrier or a baby flattop. She is ugly. She rolls horribly in the Atlantic swell, and she is the single most important ship in the convoy. On her deck are lashed 12 F-4F Wildcat fighters and 8 TBF Avenger torpedo bombers. They are not the best, but they are here. The Bogue is the flagship of Escort Group VGS-19. She is taking her place in the screen of convoy SC-122, a slow, lumbering procession of 60 merchant ships. The Bogue and her aircraft are not meant to sink U-boats. Not primarily. They are a scarecrow. They are a mobile airfield designed to do one thing: plug the center of the gap. The VLR Liberators, like Rochfords, are reaching out from land. The escort carriers, like the Bogue, are sailing into the gap. The Black Pit, the U-boat's private hunting ground, is about to be squeezed from both sides. The sanctuary is about to become a slaughterhouse. March 21, 1943, 14:30 hours, 600 miles southeast of Greenland. Oberleutnant zur See Helmut Frerks, commander of U-468, is exhausted but exhilarated. His hydrophone operator, the Horcher, has just given him the news he's been waiting for. Schraubengeräusche, Herr Kallow. Stark aus 030, ein großer Geleitzug. Propeller noises, Captain. Strong from bearing 030, a large convoy. This is it. Convoy SC-122. The Wolfpack Stürmer, Striker, is converging. Frerks has been submerged for 6 hours, cautiously tracking. But now, with the convoy's screen likely disorganized and the afternoon light beginning to wane, it is time to surface, gain speed, and position himself for a night attack. Auftauchen zum Dieselmarsch. Surface for diesel run. The command is given. Compressed air roars into the ballast tanks. The boat angles up, breaking the choppy surface with a rush of white water. The hatch flies open and Frerks is on the bridge. Binoculars to his eyes, the cold, wet wind a slap in the face. The lookouts scramble up beside him. Horizon frei! Horizon clear. Frerks scans the sky. He has the report from U-228. He knows about the impossible Liberator.
He and his lookouts are no longer just scanning the sea.
They are scouring the clouds. Every man on the bridge is tense. The sky is no longer a void. It is a threat. METOX? Still, Herr Kallow. Quiet, Captain. Good. He feels a knot of tension release. The Liberator was a fluke. A ghost, his diesels roar to life. U-468 begins to pick up speed. Its bow wave cutting through the swell. They are 20 miles from the convoy, invisible to its surface escorts. Suddenly, the METOX receiver screams. It is not the faint, distant ping they are used to. It is a sudden, deafening shriek, a high-pitched, insistent warble. The operator yelps.
Radar! Stark!
Sehr nah. Radar, strong. Very close. Flieger alarm. Frerks bellows. Tauchen! Tauchen! But where is it? The lookouts spin, their eyes watering in the wind, frantically searching the gray, overcast sky. There is nothing. No four-engine bomber. Nothing. And then they see it. It bursts out of a low-hanging cloud, not from the horizon, but almost directly on top of them. It is small, stocky, and has only one engine. It's a TBF Avenger, its wings already unfolded for attack. Frerks is frozen for a half-second. His brain cannot process the image. An Avenger? A torpedo bomber? That is a carrier aircraft, a Trägerflugzeug. But there are no carriers. The British fleet carriers, illustrious, formidable, they are in the Mediterranean or guarding the home fleet. They do not escort merchant ships. The Avenger is already in its dive. From the cockpit, Lieutenant J.G. Stinky Turner of VC-19, flying from the USS Bogue, has them cold. His radome, slung under the wing, had painted the U-boat bright as day. Tally-ho. Tally-ho, going in, he shouts over the radio. U-468's 20mm flak cannon opens up, its red tracers arcing desperately toward the diving plane. But it is too late. Turner is too low, too fast. The Avenger's bomb bay snaps open. 4 350-pound depth charges drop away. Ferks is already halfway down the hatch as the boat lurches into its dive. The deck is still awash when the charges hit. The explosions are catastrophic. They are shallower and closer than U-591's. The charges detonate directly beneath the U-boat's stern. The pressure hull splits open. The diesel engines are torn from their mountings. Lieutenant Turner circles watching as U-468 vanishes. A moment later, a massive eruption of air and oil boils to the surface. And then, the U-boat's bow re-emerges, pointing straight up at the sky, a tombstone of steel. It hangs there for a terrible 10 seconds, then slides backward into the Atlantic, taking all 48 men with it. Aboard the USS Bogue, 15 miles away, the landing signal officer watches Turner's Avenger return, its tail hooked down, ready for the perilous recovery on the pitching deck. A new, terrifying weapon has been unleashed. It is not a single long-range aircraft. It is a mobile, floating airbase bristling with hunter-killer planes that can appear at any moment, in any weather, day or night. For Dönitz's wolf packs, the equation has changed. The VLR Liberators are attacking from land. The Escort Carriers are attacking from the sea. The black pit is closing. April 4, 1943, 11:20 hours. BDU headquarters, Berlin. The map on Admiral Dönitz's wall is bleeding. The black pit, once a blank space of opportunity, is now peppered with new black pins. The wolf packs, Stürmer, Sea Teufel, Löwenherz, are not just fighting convoys. They are being hunted. The reports flooding the decrypted message center are a cascade of panic and confusion. From U-632, attacked by carrier aircraft. METOX warned too late. Diving. Then silence. From U-188, engaged by 4-engine bomber. No METOX warning. Damage to periscope. From U-439, sighted small carrier. Repeat. Small carrier with convoy. Attacked by 3 aircraft. Dönitz is chain-smoking, a rare sign of agitation. Beside him, Conter-Admiral Gott and the head of U-boat signals intelligence are pale. The losses are unsustainable. In March, they sank 108 ships, a staggering victory, but they lost 15 U-boats. Now in the first days of April, the loss rate is accelerating. The problem is the radar. The reports make no sense. Some U-boats are vaporized with no METOX warning at all. Others get a sudden high-pitched scream, but only seconds before the bombs hit. It cannot be 2 systems, Dönitz states, his voice flat. The Allies are not that advanced. They do not have the resources to deploy 2 new revolutionary radars at the same time, one on land-based aircraft and one on carriers. His technical staff, brilliant men who have given him the METOX, agree. It is illogical. They must find a single unifying theory, and they find one. It is ingenious. It is logical. And it is lethally wrong. Dr. Oscar Heil, a key signals expert, presents his finding. The METOX receiver is not a passive listener. To function, its internal circuits must oscillate, emitting a very faint, almost undetectable radio signal. Herr Admiral, he explains, the Allies have not developed a new radar. They have developed a detector. They are listening for us. The METOX itself is the beacon. The room is stone cold. This is the METOX Täuschung, the METOX deception. Dönitz seizes on it. It explains everything. The VLR Liberator that got U-591, it must have been a fluke, a visual sighting. But the carrier planes swarming U-468? They weren't using radar. They were homing in on Oberleutnant Ferks's own detector. The sudden close-range METOX shriek wasn't the plane's radar finding the U-boat. It was the plane's radar turning on for the final attack run, after it had already been guided in by the U-boat's own emissions. It is a terrifying, elegant theory, and it means their own shield is a sword pointed at their throats. Dönitz dictates an order. It is perhaps the most catastrophic order of the entire Atlantic campaign. Signal to all boats. Enemy is detecting METOX emissions. Restrict METOX use. Power on only for brief intermittent periods. Trust visual lookouts. The message is encoded and transmitted. Across the North Atlantic in hundreds of steel tubes, Funker operators hand the flimsy paper to their commanders. Imagine Kapitän Leutnant Peter Erich Kramer on U-333. He is in the heart of the gap. He has heard the desperate cries from other boats. He has seen the impossible planes. He has come to rely on the METOX chatter as his only defense. And now he is being told to turn it off. He is being ordered to be blind, to be deaf. He must surface his boat, recharge his batteries. and trust that his lookouts, their eyes raw with salt and freezing spray, can spot a tiny black cross in a 10,000 square mile expanse of gray sky before that cross spots him. The psychological terror of the air gap is born. The U-boat commanders are no longer the hunters. They are the prey, and their own command has just stolen their eyes. May 5, 1943. 1640 hours, North Atlantic, 800 miles south of Iceland. The sea is a blinding sheet of silver. The afternoon sun low and glaring. Kapitän Lieutenant Klaus-Peter Carlson, commander of U-531, is a bundle of raw nerves. He has not slept in 48 hours. His boat is part of Wolfpack Finch, a massive assembly of 34 U-boats ordered to intercept convoy ONS-5, a vital, slow-moving convoy bound for North America. It should be a slaughter. Instead, they are the ones being slaughtered. For 3 days, every time one of his fellow commanders has tried to surface and report the convoy's position, the sky has torn them apart. The airwaves are a cacophony of broken signals, of frantic aircraft sightings, and then silence. U-125, gone. U-192, gone. U-630, gone. Carlson's boat is low on battery. He has no choice. He must surface. He must recharge. Alle Mann auf Gefechtsstationen. Auftauchen. All hands to battle stations. Surface! The bridge is crowded as soon as the hatch is open. Carlson, his executive officer, and 4 lookouts, their eyes shielded by polarized goggles, sweep the sky. They are not just scanning. They are desperate. Every man is rigid with tension. Mittags, Carlson asks, a formality. Ausgeschaltet, Herr Kalau, Befehl. Switched off, Captain, order. They are blind. They are relying on 20/20 vision against an enemy moving at 200 knots. Carlson sweeps his binoculars across the sun's glare. Es ist Wahnsinn, he mutters. This is madness. 70 miles away, Flying Officer Mac McCaffrey, piloting Liberator K of No. 86 Squadron, yawns and sips lukewarm coffee. He has been airborne for 8 hours, flying out of Reykjavik. For the last hour, his radar operator has been staring at a tiny, flickering green snowflake on his ASV Mk III scope. Contact bearing 190, skipper. Range, 15 miles. It's a sub. Definitely a sub. McCaffrey alters course. He doesn't even have visual. He doesn't need it. The U-boat is broadcasting its position, not with a METOX, but simply by existing as a metal hull on the water's surface. The 10-centimeter radar waves are painting it perfectly. Right, McCaffrey says. We'll go in from the sun. Get the charges set. 25-foot spacing. Aboard U-531, the starboard lookout screams. His voice cracks. Flieger. Aus der Sonne. Aircraft. Out of the sun. Carlson spins. It is an apparition. A 4-engine monster, its white belly gleaming, already in its attack dive. It is not on the horizon. It is on them. It has come from the one place they could not look. Alarm. Tauchen, volle Kraft voraus. The klaxon wails. Men fall down the conning tower hatch. Carlson is the last, pulling the hatch shut as the boat begins its plunge. 20 meter! He shouts. The Liberator's bomb bay doors are already open. McCaffrey sees the U-boat's wake turn to foam as it crash dives. He toggles the release. Bomb's gone. 6 depth charges leap from the plane, tumbling end over end. They are set for a shallow detonation. U-531 is at 18 meters when the world is ripped apart. The first charge detonates just off the port bow. The second hits directly over the control room. The force is unimaginable. The pressure hull not designed for this buckles like tin. The lights, the gauges, the men, all are obliterated in a single crushing instant. McCaffrey circles once. He sees the result. A vast spreading pool of black diesel fuel, then the grim debris, a single punctured life raft. He banks his heavy Liberator and turns for home. It is his second kill this week. All across the Atlantic, the scene is repeated. May 11th, U-89 sunk by a VLR Liberator. May 12th, U-456 damaged by a Liberator sinks later. May 13th, U-640, U-657 sunk. May 14th, 15th, 19th. It is a relentless, systematic execution. Dönitz's order to turn off the METOX has not saved his boats. It has condemned them. They are surfacing, blind, into the lethal overlapping kill zones of the VLR bombers from land and the Avenger aircraft from the baby Flattops. This is not a battle. It is a massacre. This is Black May, May 24th, 1943, 10 hours. BDU headquarters, Berlin. The operations room is no longer a place of high-stakes strategy. It is a morgue. The air is stale, the mood funereal. On the great Atlantic map, the cluster of black pins in the center of the gap has become a sickening dense mass. Admiral Dönitz stands before the map, his hands clasped behind his back. He is staring at the tally, chalked up on a slate by a trembling adjutant. U-boats lost in May 41. It is an incomprehensible number. A full third of his operational frontline force gone in 24 days. The aces, the experienced commanders who had built the U-boot Waffe, are almost all gone. Krech-Gengelbach-Kazen, a generation of heroes, vaporized. In return, Allied shipping losses have plummeted. The convoys, ONS-5, SC-122, HX-231, have been mauled, but they have gotten through. For every ship sunk, the Allies have killed a U-boat. The exchange rate, once laughably in Dönitz's favor, has become a death sentence. Conter-Admiral Gott breaks the silence, his voice hollow. Karl, we cannot sustain this. We are sending them out to die. The new boats, the new crews, they are being killed on their first patrol. Dönitz turns from the map. His face is gray. The illusion of the Metox deception has shattered, replaced by a cold, horrifying reality. It wasn't their own gear. It was something new, something they could not see, could not hear, and could not fight. The enemy had achieved total, crushing air supremacy over the one place on Earth Dönitz believed was his. He walks to his desk and sits. For a moment, he is just an old, tired man who has sent thousands to their deaths. He looks at Gott. Der Feind hat eine neue Waffe. The enemy has a new weapon. He pauses, then speaks the words that will echo through history, the admission of a defeat so total it is almost biblical. Der Feind hat uns geschlagen, he says, his voice barely a whisper. The enemy has beaten us. He has won the Battle of the Atlantic. There is no argument. There is only the grim task of stemming the bleeding. Dönitz takes a signal pad. He writes out the order. It is the end of the wolf pack. The end of the Black Pit, the end of their one great hope to starve Britain into submission. An alle Boote, Operation im Nordatlantik wird eingestellt, to all boats operations in the North Atlantic are cancelled. The order is sent. All surviving U-boats in the North Atlantic are to abandon the hunt. They are to turn south, to the quieter, less lethal waters off the Azores or West Africa, or to limp back to their bases in France. For Captain Lieutenant Kremer on U-333, the signal is a reprieve from a death sentence. For the men in the control rooms, it is a quiet, stunned relief. They have survived, but as they turn their rudders and flee the gap, they do so as a beaten force. They are no longer the wolves of the sea. They are the hunted slinking away from the terrible, watchful eyes in the sky, the VLR Liberators and the carrier-born Avengers that had, in 60 short days, turned their sanctuary into a graveyard. The hunters had become the hunted. And the mid-Atlantic gap, the Black Pit, was now and would remain until the end of the war firmly in Allied hands. June the 1st, 1943. 10:15 hours. U-boat pens, Lorient, France. The concrete bunkers are tombs of echoing silence. The usual raucous celebrations that greeted returning boats, the flags, the bands, the flowers, are gone. Instead, gaunt-faced men in salt-stained leather uniforms shuffle onto the quay, their eyes hollow, avoiding the gazes of the dock workers. They are the survivors of Black May. Inside a debriefing room, Captain Lieutenant Peter Erich Kramer, one of the few veteran commanders to make it back, faces a panel of grim-faced BDU staff officers and technical specialists. It was not a detector, Kramer says, his voice rough with fatigue and anger. We turned the Metox off. We dove the moment we surfaced just to listen. We were blind, and still they came. Another Oberleutnant, his arm in a sling, his face burned by diesel fire from a depth charge attack, slams his fist on the table. They came out of the sun. Out of the clouds. We had 4 lookouts, Herr Admiral, he says, his voice cracking. 4, and we saw nothing until the bombs were falling. How did they see us? The technical officer, the same man who had confidently proposed the Metox deception theory, looks at his notes baffled. But the emissions? Our tests were conclusive. Your tests are wrong, Kramer shouts, rising from his chair. You sat here in Berlin, and you told us our own equipment was betraying us. You blinded us. You sent us into a slaughterhouse with orders to wear a blindfold. The room falls silent. The horrifying truth is dawning. Not on the admirals in Berlin, but here in the stink of diesel and fear in Lorient. The Mitox order had been a fatal, catastrophic mistake. The Allies had not been listening for their gear. They had something new, something that made the U-boat the 20th century predator, as visible as a whale in a clear lagoon. The Germans, masters of technology, had been defeated by a technology they could not even comprehend. Across the channel, at the RAF Coastal Command Base in Aldergrove, Flight Lieutenant David Rochford, the pilot who sank U-591 months earlier, is having a pint in the mess. He and his crew are celebrating. They are being rotated off frontline duty for a rest. His radar operator, Sergeant Tom Sparks Davies, leans back, swirling his beer. "It's the oddest thing, Skip," Sparks says. "Remember when we started? Back in March? We'd pick him up on the scope and almost immediately we'd see him dive. Mad scramble." Rochford nods. "Aye, always a race against the clock." "Not anymore," Sparks says, taking a sip. "The last three, the ones we got last week, they just sat there, like they were sunbathing. We had all the time in the world. Flew right down their throats. It's like they've gone stupid." Rochford shrugs. "Maybe they're green crews. Dönitz is running out of his good men." "Maybe," Sparks says, staring into his glass. "Or maybe they just can't hear us coming anymore." He had no idea how right he was. He had no idea that a false theory, born in a Berlin office, had ordered those U-boats to turn off the one piece of equipment, the Mitox, that could have detected his old long-wave radar. And he had no idea that his new 10-centimeter ASV III radar was a ghost, a whisper, a silent executioner that the Germans had no defense against. The U-boat crews hadn't gone stupid. They had been made deaf and blind by their own command, just as the Allies unleashed the single most decisive weapon of the campaign. The combination was not just a defeat. It was an annihilation. August 17, 1943, 03:20 hours. Bay of Biscay. The Bay of Biscay, the Avenue of Death, is the new front line. The U-boats driven from the mid-Atlantic are now hunted relentlessly in the very waters approaching their home ports in France. Capitaine Lecnut, his rank is likely Capitaine Lieutenant, Werner Hartenstein, a seasoned ace, nervously scans the dark sky from the bridge of U-156. He is one of the first to be equipped with the Wanze. This is the Wellenanzeiger, the wave indicator, a desperate stopgap detector designed to sniff out the new 10-centimeter Allied radar. Beside it sits another new device, the Aphrodite, a simple radar decoy balloon. These are the first, clumsy answers to Black May, but the U-boat itself has changed. It is no longer just a submarine. It is a U-flak, a boat bristling with extra anti-aircraft guns. The doctrine has been reversed. Dönitz, believing the U-boat cannot hide, has ordered his boats to stay on the surface and fight the aircraft. A shout from the lookout, "Flugzeug!" Almost simultaneously, the new Wanze detector lets out a weak, chirping buzz. It works. An RAF Sunderland flying boat is on them, a huge, dark shadow against the moonlit clouds. "Fewer frei!" Hartenstein roars. "Alle Flakwaffen! Open fire!" "All flak weapons!" U-156 does not dive. It erupts in a storm of 20mm and 37mm cannon fire, its red, green, and white tracers tearing into the night. The Sunderland, surprised by the sheer volume of fire, veers off, its own 50 caliber guns flashing in response. The first pass is driven off. The men on the bridge cheer, a raw, defiant sound. They are fighting back, but the Sunderland is not alone. It is a hunter-killer from a coordinated pack. It circles out of range, its radio operator calmly reporting Hartenstein's exact position. 20 minutes later, the Wanze shrieks. But it's not one contact. It's three. A second Sunderland and two VLR Liberators are converging. They come in from different altitudes, different bearings, a tactic designed to overwhelm the U-boat's guns. Hartenstein screams orders, but it's useless. The flak crews are firing wildly. The first Liberator drops flares, bathing the U-boat in a merciless magnesium-white light. The second Liberator and the Sunderland attack simultaneously. Depth charges and bombs rain down. The sea heaves. One charge detonates directly beside the conning tower. The blast hurls Hartenstein and his bridge crew into the sea. The U-flak's guns fall silent. The boat, mortally wounded and its hull breached, begins to founder, settling by the stern. The fight-back order is a failure. It is suicide. In Berlin, the technical officers finally begrudgingly accept the truth. They are years behind. While they were perfecting torpedoes, the Allies, in small hidden laboratories in Britain and America, had mastered the cavity magnetron. They had unlocked the secret of high-frequency centimetric radar. It was a weapon so decisive, so war-winning, that when a captured British bomber was examined, German scientists found the new radar set. They could not believe it. They concluded it was not a detector, but a jammer. Because the technology was so far beyond their own, they assumed its true purpose was impossible. The U-boat commanders had never stood a chance. They were not beaten by pilots or by ships. They were beaten by physicists. They were stunned by aircraft in the middle of the Atlantic, because they were on the wrong side of a technological chasm so wide, they could not even see the other side. Black May was not a battle. It was the result of a scientific ambush, one from which the U-Boot Waffe would never ever recover.